I rise tonight to speak to my amendment for House Bill 5013. As a Detroiter, you know that I, along with most of my caucus members in this room, understand the need for auto insurance reform. The city of Detroit, like many urban communities, has dealt with the impact of discriminatory rating factors for far too long. In fact, if we were to take a historical look at how we got here, once having a limit on the differences on rates between contiguous districts, we'd have to admit we've been duped by the super legislature, the legislature that is not inhibited by term limits or dark money, that has made its way into the coffers of some of my colleagues through leading Michigan forward. Driving up to the Capitol yesterday, I called former legislator Martha G. Scott to garner her thoughts on rating factors and redlining during her tenure in the House, to learn why these discriminatory factors impeding Detroit drivers from rate relief have persisted for so long. And she said it was the power of big money, yet encouraged me to keep fighting. The rates we pay are exorbitant, predatory, and have stymied our economic ecosystem, making it hard for the working class and those that we say we want to become a part of the working class to follow the law, a law which makes it illegal to drive without insurance. Yet insurance companies are not required to show evidence of their rate calculations for non-driving factors, or evidence of these disparaging differences hidden as trade secrets. But this isn't something unique to Michigan. It's a national problem. According to April 5th ProPublica article, minority neighborhoods pay higher car insurance premiums than white areas with the same risk. I'm not going to read this long article, but there is clear and convincing evidence on these national practices prohibiting our very basic unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Like the other urban cities included in the aforementioned study, we're charged more based on zip codes. We're charged more based on credit scores. We're charged more based on education attainment levels. In other words, we're simply charged for being black in Detroit. Now, before anyone says that I'm invoking the race card, I'm not accusing any of you of being racist. Let me make that clear. In fact, I've gone out of my way since Charlottesville to tap into my faith, my humanity, and to extend the olive branch to work with all members, no matter their party affiliation, to build a mutual respect and grace, no matter our differences, to build the trust necessary to discuss the disparities that exist in communities of color and how policies which are shaped in this body adversely impacts them. And I'm appreciative to those that have become receptive on both sides of the aisle. When the media tried to bait me into attacking my insurance colleague for her mistake of saying your people, I took the high road, because a peek in one's heart, even through a slip of their lips, is still an opportunity for change. When the media tried to bait me and get me to attack my colleague for saying we shouldn't link arms on the floor, I took the high road, because having a willingness to see through someone else's lens is an opportunity for change.
Representative.
And when the media...
Representative, my discretion is that your discussion has digressed from the question before the House. Please confine your comments to the merits of the amendment. The chair recognizes Representative Gay-Dagnogo.
Thank you. These are relevant as they relate to the racial discrepancies that exist in the non-driving factors. As I indicated, when the media tried to get me to even call for the MSP's director's resignation, I invoked grace, because even a distasteful Facebook post can be a teachable moment.
Representative, again, I'm going to ask you to confine your comments to the merits of the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. But make no mistake.
The chair recognizes Representative Gay-Dagnogo.
Thank you, but make no mistake. I know there is a benefit of not being black and not being from Detroit, as a number of these policies formed in this chamber impacts my community, and these crippling auto insurance rates with non-driving factors have locked my citizens into a cyclical poverty, and that's inhumane. I know we have different lenses based on where we're from, and values shape our experience, but we should never be okay with the trends that we see nationally and statewide
as it relates to driving while black. In the U.S. House of Representatives, 6 Congress members are urging the Treasury Secretary to appoint a director of Federal Insurance Office to look at these challenges and practices nationally. Time won't permit me to speak to the myriad of ways that our communities of colors have been targeted for profit due to institutional and systemic barriers that have locked many of our neighborhoods out of economic success, including these redlining practices, which have been a reality since the early 1930s, with mortgage rates for people of color twice as high as our white neighbors, with inadequate school funding, separate and unequal schools, and yes, insurance rates as high as 130% more for being just across the street at Mack and Alter from our neighbors in Grosse Pointe. Redlining has worked because we've allowed a veil to come over our eyes to shield us from justice and equality. Among the many insidious coalitions that have been systematically weakening our city, insurance companies rank at the top. They profit from perpetuating our circumstances, our differences. They pit us against each other. Who knows better what will divide us politically than the insurance industry, who has, through their lobbyists, been acting as puppeteers of chaos for years?
Representative, I'm attempting to provide latitude.
Thank you.
That has nothing to do with the question before the House. Please confine your comments to the merits of the amendment. The chair recognizes Representative Gay-Dagnogo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When an ecosystem suffers from an invasive species, you must root out not just the species itself, but the source of the invasion. So too are we unable to properly address insurance reform without first prohibiting these practices of redlining, which has allowed the industry to divide us among party lines, urban, suburban, and rural. That's why I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to join with me today, not in taking an increased rate for themselves, but to stand against redlining, against non-driving factors, and to hold harmless those who have benefited from these practices before. Thank you. I urge you to vote yes on my amendment.
Thank you, Representative. The question before the House is the adoption of the substitute. The clerk will open the board. The substitute is not adopted.